Master, as we explore Chapter 7, covering the Kapila and Patanjala Samkhya and Yoga, we must look at the climate in which they arose. Did they develop alongside Buddhism and Jainism?
Yes. Both Buddhism and Jainism were Nastika, or heterodox schools, born from a Kshatriya reaction against the strict, bloody sacrificial disciplines of the Brahmanas. The older Vedic creed believed that an exact combination of rituals had magical power to grant worldly desires, like rain or a sun.
So the Vedic truth was purely practical.
Exactly. For the ritualists, truth was whatever achieved practical results in the world. But the new philosophical systems turned their backs on temporary happiness. They sought an ultimate, unchangeable state where all pains were dissolved forever, replacing ritual sacrifice with universal moral action and true knowledge.
Did these orthodox systems entirely reject the older Vedic texts to build their theories?
Not entirely. The pioneers drew heavily from the Upanishads. In the Upanishads, we see two parallel lines of thought developing. One line viewed Brahman as the sole infinite reality, reducing the world to mere name and form. This evolved into Vedantic monism.
And the second line?
The second line granted reality to the material world. We see clear Samkhya terminology appearing in the Shvetashvatara and Maitrayani Upanishads. Samkhya brilliantly united the Upanishadic doctrine of the permanent soul with the Buddhist doctrine of momentary change and the Jain doctrine of relativism.
Who were the earliest figures to systematize Samkhya?
Kapila is the legendary founder, followed by Asuri and Panchashikha. Interestingly, an early, distinct version of Samkhya is found in the medical treatise of Karaka around 78 AD. Karaka merges the unmanifested Prakriti with the soul, or Satana, treating them as a single category among 24.
How did Karaka view the self and liberation?
He believed consciousness only arises when the unconscious self combines with the mind and senses. His view of moksha, or liberation, is a state of absolute cessation of pleasure and pain, almost resembling the Buddhist nirvana, leaving no indication of positive existence.
If Karaka's view is just an early branch, what is the definitive text of Orthodox Samkhya?
The oldest surviving orthodox text is the Samkhya Karika by Ishvara Krishna, written around 200 AD. It is believed to be a summary of a massive lost work called the Shashti Tantyare. The Samkhya Sutras, surprisingly, were written much later, probably after the 14th century.
And how did later scholars interpret these?
Great commentators arose. Vachaspati Mishra in the 9th century and Vijnana Bhikshu in the 16th. Vijnana Bhikshu made profound contributions, specifically by rationally defining the gunas as actual types of super subtle reals, a theory I accept as the most philosophic interpretation.
How does yoga fit into this? Was Patanjali the creator of yoga?
No. The word yoga has ancient roots in the Rig Veda, originally meaning yoking horses, which evolved into yoking or controlling the senses. Patanjali, around 147 BC, was a master compiler. He took existing mystical, ascetic practices and systematically grafted them onto Samkhya metaphysics.
There is a famous debate about his identity, isn't there?
Yes. Many scholars debate whether Patanjali the yoga editor is the same person as Patanjali the author of the great grammar commentary, the Mahabhashya. Despite Western doubts, a comparative study reveals no fatal contradictions, making it highly probable they are the same genius.
Let us turn to the core metaphysics. How does Samkhya define the soul, the Purusha?
Unlike the Vedantic Brahman, which is a single soul made of intelligence and bliss, Samkhya posits an infinite number of souls. If there were only one soul, Samkhya argues, the birth or death of one would mean the birth or death of all.
Does this Purusha experience happiness?
No. This is crucial. Purusha is absolutely devoid of any characteristics. It is pure, passive consciousness, a transcendent light. Bliss and suffering are mere feelings, and in Samkhya, feelings are a form of subtle matter. They belong to Prakriti, not to the soul.
Wait, you are saying that thoughts and feelings are material?
Yes. In Samkhya, thoughts, images, and sense data are composed of subtle matter stuff. They are like a painted canvas immersed in darkness. They only appear conscious because they are illuminated by the light of the Purusha.
Why doesn't a rock reflect this consciousness, then?
Because of its composition. The mind stuff has a massive preponderance of sattva, a quality of pure plasticity and translucence that can catch the reflection of consciousness. Gross matter, like a rock, is dominated by tamas, the factor of mass and dark obstruction.
So everything in the universe, mental and physical, is built from these three qualities?
Exactly. But they are not abstract qualities, and they are ultimate feeling substances called gunas. If you analyze a sensation deeply, beneath the image, it is a crude feeling. Samkhya identifies three fundamental types: the pleasurable, the painful, and the dull.
And these correspond to the gunas?
Yes. Sattva is the pleasure and intelligence stuff. Rajas is the pain and energy stuff. Tamas is the dullness, mass, and obstruction stuff. By compounding in infinite proportions, these three reals create both the psychological mind and the physical universe.
If everything is made of these combining gunas, what was the state of the universe before creation?
Before creation, there was Prakriti. This is a state where the infinite guna substances disintegrated and mutually opposed each other perfectly. It was a state of absolute equilibrium, qualityless, indeterminate, and entirely homogeneous. It is a state of being that is almost non-being.
How does evolution begin from this silence?
Evolution, or parinama, happens when this balance is disturbed. The gunas begin an unequal aggregation. The process of evolution is always moving from the undifferentiated and indeterminate towards the highly differentiated, determinate, and coherent.
But what exactly disturbs this perfect equilibrium? Why doesn't it just stay at rest?
That is the most profound mystery in Samkhya. It is broken by the transcendental influence of the Purusha. The lifeless Prakriti contains a blind, inherent teleology, a purpose. It moves entirely to serve the souls.
So it creates the universe just for us?
Yes. When the accumulated karmas of souls require rest, Prakriti enters pralaya, or cosmic dissolution. When the time for new experiences arrives, this inherent purpose wakes Prakriti up, breaking the equilibrium to frame a suitable world for the soul's enjoyment and eventual liberation.
What is the very first thing to emerge when Prakriti is disturbed?
The first evolute is Mahat or Buddhi. It is generated by a massive preponderance of sattva. It is the cosmic intelligence that holds within it all the individual minds of the souls that were lost during pralaya.
And from this universal mind, how do we get individuality?
When Mahat is disturbed by the three tendencies, it evolves into Ahamkara, the ego. Ahamkara is the specific expression of consciousness that claims experience as mine. Its very function is Abhimana, self-assertion.
Does this ego then create both our senses and the physical world?
Yes, it branches out. Guided by sattva, the ego generates the 5 cognitive senses, the 5 conative senses, and the mind organ. Guided by the heavy tamas, it generates bhutadi, which in turn produces the tanmatras.
What are tanmasitras?
They are infratomic potentials. They are the subtle, vibrating potentials of sound, touch, color, taste, and smell. They possess physical energy but are devoid of gross forms until they group together to form the actual gross atoms.
How do these subtle potentials become the solid matter we can touch?
Through specific accretions of mass. The sound potential generates the Akasha atom, or ether, possessing penetrability. Adding the touch potential creates the Vayu atom, generating mechanical pressure. Adding heat creates the Tejas atom, and so on down to the solid earth atom.
So chemistry here is based on sensory experience.
Precisely. The 5 gross elements are not classified by chemical analysis, but by the 5 senses through which they affect us. Thus, the physical universe is an objective projection of our sensory capacities.
When milk turns into curd, is a completely new thing created?
No. This brings us to Satkaryavada. Samkhya holds that the effect already exists potentially in the cause. Nothing previously non-existent can be produced. The curd already exists in the milk, the statue already exists in the marble block.
Then what does the action of the sculptor, or heat, actually do?
They act as efficient causes that merely remove the barriers preventing transformation. Energy is conserved. The energy collocated to form milk is under arrest. Heat removes this arrest, and the energy naturally flows to arrange the atoms into the new collocation of curd.
If everything runs on the conservation of energy and removing barriers, where does God fit in?
Orthodox Samkhya is perfectly atheistic. It denies Ishvara, asserting that the blind, inherent tendency of Prakriti is enough to guide the fixed order of the universe and distribute the fruits of karma.
But yoga disagrees.
Yes. Yoga asks how a blind force can orchestrate perfect cosmic harmony. Yoga introduces Ishvara, a special Purusha untouched by afflictions. He does not create Prakriti, but his permanent will selectively removes the barriers of evolution, guiding it intelligently for the salvation of all souls.
How do these material mind structures actually produce a conscious thought?
When senses touch an object, the first moment is a blind, indeterminate shock. Then, the manas, or mind organ, synthesizes and abstracts it into a determinate form. This material image is then intelligized by the reflection of the Purusha.
And the Purusha thinks the thought is its own.
Exactly. Because Buddhi resembles Purusha in its transparency, a confusion occurs. The Purusha fails to differentiate itself from the changing states of Buddhi. This non-distinction, avidya or ignorance, is the root of all bondage and misery.
If all experience is rooted in this ignorance, is it all considered suffering?
Yes. Even temporary pleasure is fraught with the fear of loss and the seeds of future pain. The wiser a man is, the more he realizes that all worldly and heavenly experiences are inherently sorrowful.
Then what is the escape?
The complete disassociation of the mind, or chitta, from the Purusha. When true knowledge arises, the Buddhi realizes it is entirely alien to the soul. Its purpose fulfilled, it drops away, leaving the Purusha in its pure, solitary light. This is Kavalya.
What drives us to keep acting in ways that generate karma and rebirth?
We are driven by the 5 kleshas, or afflictions. It starts with avidya, ignorance. This breeds asmita, egoism. From egoism comes rajye, attachment to things, and dvesha, aversion to unpleasant things.
And the 5th?
Abhinivaisha, the deep, instinctive will to live and fear of death. These 5 permeate the mind, creating karmic beds that dictate our future births. To achieve liberation, these psychological roots must be burned away.
How does yoga actively destroy these deep-rooted afflictions? Philosophy alone isn't enough, is it?
No, yoga requires rigorous psychological discipline. Before entering deep meditation, the yogin must purify the mind through yamas and niyamas, strict ethical codes like absolute non-injury, truthfulness, and celibacy.
What about dealing with other people?
The yogin cultivates specific attitudes, matri, universal friendliness, karuna, compassion, and opeksha, total indifference to the vices of others. By forcing the mind into these positive states, the dark habits of the past are starved of energy.
Once purified, how does the mind reach ultimate liberation?
Through posture and breath control, the yogin stills the body. Then, through dharana and dhyana, he achieves samadhi. Initially, this is samprajnata, concentrating intensely on objects, subtle elements, or the ego itself.
And the final step?
The final step is asamprajnata, or nirodha samadhi. The mind empties of all objects. All remaining karma and impressions are destroyed. The mind, utterly powerless, falls back into prakriti, leaving the Purusha forever alone, free, and eternally luminous.